Hello everyone, and welcome back to my No Buy Year, and welcome to Vlogmas. So this is a little bit of an introduction video to what's going to be happening over the month to come, as well as the first installment of Carols of Wisdom, things I learned during my first No Buy Year. So you'll notice as well, I'm going to do some weekly polls on the communities, the posts tab, and you'll have a chance to let me know a few things, what kind of videos you like most, why you watch this channel, etc. I'm going to try to collect some information so that I can design next year's content with a more helpful aspect in mind, as far as providing more of the value that people get out of the content that I share here. Okay, anyway, to get right into today's topic, it's beginning to look a lot like Giftmas. And those of you who are familiar with that carol will know that the original is it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. And when I substitute Christmas with Giftmas, so again, I'm sorry to break down the pun titles that I'm going to be using all throughout the month, but the reason for the swap here is kind of integral to the topic of today. And Christmas has turned into a gift-giving holiday. And this is where I'm going to kind of show my hand and maybe share some personal information that perhaps I should not, but I don't share it to try to alienate anybody, but I'd share it to try to inform my perspective. So when I say certain things or share certain takes on a subject, that's where I'm coming from. I grew up in a Christian household, so my parents are still kind of practicing religious people. My mom especially goes to church regularly. I think my parents both go to church because my dad will go with my mom, but my mom is the one who is really strongly a believer in that faith. And I grew up as a part of that, and as a teenager became reluctant to remain a part of that. And now as an adult, I am not religious at all, really. I would categorize myself as a theist. So not atheist, but a theist. I'm comfortable with the idea that there is a God, but what that God is, I am not really comfortable with defining in an organized religious way. So getting that out of the way, I fully respect anybody else's religious beliefs, and I'm not trying to invalidate that by sharing my own kind of lack of spirituality. And again, I'm not trying to devalue what a religious community can bring to everybody. In fact, I kind of do lament the loss of it for people who decide to step away from organized religions. I think maintaining that community can be a really wonderful thing. So there we go. Now you know when I'm talking about Christmas and all the holiday traditions and everything behind it, historically, religiously, even some of the work that I'm probably going to do in churches this season, I am not coming at it from the perspective of somebody who is within that community or an active member in the Christian tradition of Christmas or any of the other holidays that happen at this time of year. And I'm not an expert in religiousness and the holiday season. I've already had a comment on an earlier video about how many of the traditions were pagan and designed to just bring people together. And like I said, I don't even know anything about that. So it's not as if I'm trying to say it's sacrilegious to celebrate Christmas without being a Christian or anything like that either. It's more about how the meaning of the holiday season has been kind of usurped by consumerism. And this is not a new idea, right? Americans have been long aware and complaining in some regards that all the holidays have been way too commercialized, have become super consumerist. I remember being a kid in elementary school and people were already talking about how consumerist Valentine's Day was and St. Patrick's Day was and Christmas was and all the holidays, the 4th of July, it was all a big consumer commercial bonanza. I just think it's gotten worse since the advent of social media and since the rise of online influencing culture, which has created this environment of sales enabling, of anything can be a sales pitch, some of them questionably disclosed, and of an environment where the average person has the ability to make thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in some extreme cases, tens of thousands of dollars in 1 month online. I just watched a video from Caitlin Pavlovsky actually about how influencers were disclosing how they were making tens of thousands of dollars in 1 month online. And it's not that I want to be a complete hater and naysayer and say that that's an inappropriate amount of money to be making for one person a month for just posting videos online. I am going to have to unpack that kind of reaction to myself probably next year and kind of the morality of making a lot of money. That's on the docket. I'm getting sidetracked already. What a great start to Vlogmas. But anyway, I wanted to reiterate that when I criticize influencers, it's really kind of two major realms of the influencing. So it is that environment of enabling consumerism every day, all day, pushing the products. Anything could be a sponsorship, anything can be a sales pitch, which kind of dilutes the genuine authenticity of what somebody's talking about. And the influencers who are pursuing kind of their own bag, their own affiliate income, or trying to drum up the need for the must-haves, the essentials, the hauls of all kinds, with total disregard for the greater negative consequences to greater humanity and the greater communities that are watching their content. So those are kind of the two main avenues of complaint that I have. I'm not really talking about people who just post content sharing ideas, people who do legitimate reviews. I actually was recently consulting a lot of reviews. I was talking about how I wanted the AirPod Maxes a while ago, and I started obsessively researching headphones because I really wanted to make the right choice. And I've also, part of me, while I appreciated the sleek design of the AirPod Maxes, like I like the look aesthetically, I also partly did not want to buy into the Apple hype, right? I'm not an Apple fanboy, fangirl, fan person, and I kind of don't want to acquire more Apple products than I need to. I don't have an Apple phone or an Apple MacBook laptop. I did actually start with a MacBook, and it's got so slow after several years. I mean, I think I had it for 8 or 9 years. I got it when I went to college, and I'm now on my second laptop that I use to edit, and it's not a MacBook. I have an iPad because I like the functionalities for musicians, the music reading app and the music notating app, and there's not a similar version for non-iPads at this stage. So anyway, I was doing obsessive research myself into headphone videos, the tech reviews. Incidentally, it is hard to find somebody who doesn't like the AirPods and wouldn't choose those as their top choice if budget wasn't a concern. So that kind of wasn't helpful. And I'll probably be talking about that more as time goes on and I have more feelings about the choice that I ended up with. And maybe some of the other shopping that happened around Black Friday. We'll see. We'll see if there's any updates to share. I am pre-filming. I do have my little elf buddy here. He is going to be moving. He, she, they is going to be moving around the house. So they might not be here for the whole duration of Vlogmas, but they are going to be up while I film the first few videos. Okay, back to the matter at hand. This first video is a little bit scattered. Is it weird to celebrate Christmas and go hard with that as a non-Christian? And I kind of already answered that by saying that there are many traditions around this season that are not overtly religious, but it is interesting to observe that it is kind of a time where the Christians come out of the woodwork a little bit. People have nativity scenes displayed on their lawns in some cases, or in their windows, or in the ornaments. People go to church when they don't usually, and people do more church services than usual, which is how I end up getting more work. Is it hypocritical of me to work in churches when I'm not religious? That's another kind of question that crosses my mind, but I kind of have peace with that because I also am confident, again, not to play my own viola here, toot my own horn. I'm confident that I can do just as good of a job, possibly a better job in some cases, than somebody who also plays the viola and is part of the faith, right? I think I'm not taking away from somebody getting to do that job who also is a practicing Christian, simply because there's not that many people who play the viola in our city. It's not like there's a shortage per se, but at the end of the day, people need somebody to do the job. And if you can't find somebody who also benefits from being part of that environment, then you just take who is the best available for the job, right? So I don't feel guilty about that per se, but would it be better to have somebody at the table who is also involved in every side of it, the spiritual side of it too? Perhaps. And I'm not going to oppose that. It is a little bit sad, or kind of makes me feel a little bit bittersweet or something, to think about how holidays that had a lot of spiritual meaning, or still do have a lot of spiritual meaning for some people, have been co-opted by consumerism. And with the interests at the forefront of the mind now not being on the spiritual nature of it, but on the motivation to sell things, to make money, to drive a profit. And I was meaning to read Braiding Sweetgrass. I think I talked about this earlier before, and needless to say, I didn't get around to doing that, but I did read a few articles about the concept of reciprocity, basically where gift giving is reciprocal in nature. And in some cases, you can view our relationship with the earth. One can view our relationship with Mother Nature this way, and how we take things, we give things, we give and take, I guess. And it's like you don't expect anything in return, but it sets up this relationship of reciprocal connection and dependence in a way, but kind of in a positive way, like relying on support and providing support. Because not only do humans need to receive support to feel happy and healthy and thrive, we also need to give support and feel useful, feel like we can contribute to others. And so it is this kind of reciprocal nature of existence, of interacting with people around us and, people we would give gifts to, things like that. And I just think that the consumer aspect of it has kind of overridden this in many ways. And we feel the stress of having to give gifts this season. Somebody I was doing one of the church gigs with was looking online at specific gifts during one of our breaks, and we were talking about that. And she was saying how she had many friends who were very thoughtful and would always give gifts, and so she felt really pressured to return it and give a gift that was just as thoughtful. And there were a lot of people, her partner's family and her parents and her family, that she had to buy for. This kind of made me think, as somebody who's mostly escaped this in my own life, partly by not having very many close friends right now, but also having a family tradition where the adults don't really gift each other things in our extended family. I am not in the midst of that this year. The extent of who I'm buying for is basically my husband and my kids. And if I do feel compelled to give gifts to friends, it will probably be food items. One of my kind of traditions for friends' birthdays, if they invite me to a dinner on their birthday or something like that, I like to go to the World Market and get some snacks that I used to have in New Zealand. And that was one of my ways of sharing some foods that I liked, the crunchy bars, the flakes, the chocolate biscuits, some of them. I one time found some truffle chips from the UK, so that wasn't New Zealand, but they were really good, and my friend appreciated that. And I love to share kind of snacks like this, the Tim Tams. Anybody who knows the Tim Tam Slam, where you bite off the corners and drink a hot beverage through those, it's a perfect holiday activity, actually, and kind of a special thing to do to share if you're going to a party perhaps where nobody has had a Tim Tam before. It could be really fun and memorable, I think, as well. And it kind of does generate this reciprocal nature of sharing a story, sharing a snack that you love for various reasons. And maybe you'll get some of those stories and snacks in return. And maybe it'll set a precedent for kind of mutual sharing of these connective kind of memories and events. It's also very possible, going back to the book Braiding Sweetgrass, that some of you out there have already read it. And you can tell me more, perhaps, about what I've missed in the concept of reciprocal giving in this book, maybe the indigenous aspects of it, or maybe if you know more about that, even without reading the book, drop it in the comments and we can all enjoy reading about it together. I do still plan to read and finish that book though, so it might come up next year. Who knows? So going into December, it's December 1st, I would just like to remind myself to think about the meaning of the season, the things we would like to perpetuate about it, to enjoy about it, to share about it. What parts of it do we enjoy the most and value the highest? And is it the gift giving? Is it the buying of stuff and receiving of stuff? Or is it actually something else? And can we lean into that something else a lot more this year? And perhaps use that as a way to help let go of the consumerist aspects of it. And it's kind of in direct combat with the trends on social media. So anybody who's on TikTok, for example, will probably be already seeing the hot cocoa bars and the Target hauls and the home decor new things in at TJ Maxx or whatever. And you might be feeling tempted. You might not, because a lot of people here I know don't even go on TikTok, and maybe you aren't being exposed to these things. I would be very curious to know where you're at with that as well. I know this time last year I was being exposed to all of that kind of covert marketing and affiliate linked to high heavens content where you could go and buy all the hot chocolate bombs and the sprinkles and the drawers that have all the compartments for your little spoons and your candy and Christmas goodies and whatever. I didn't buy any of that stuff, but I was seeing it. And I think it fed the atmosphere of consumerism that was following me around this time last year. I did kind of have my come to Jesus moment, to use the religious phrase in a video where I've shared that I'm not really religious, last year after buying too much. And that will come back in a story in another Vlogmas day. So I will wrap today up here. Happy holiday season. I wish you all the festive good cheer without all of the stuff, without all the pressure to engage in consumerism. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.